All right. Hello to anyone that may be on or to those watching the replay. Hello, Kay. Welcome back. I really had to get to this piece. Hello, Debbie. I really had to get to this final compositional portion because this is just too fun and I needed to keep the thought process rolling here. So I've grabbed some other images too that I have that maybe we can use, and some of them. All right, it's going to happen inevitably just because the number of images that we have in here. But there's some cool images, but I just don't have room for them anymore. Look at this kind of this Egyptian rune type of thing. I could have put those eyes in there. I could have put them up here. There's still room for it like back in here above this thing, but I don't know. I, I'm not sure if I see that as like an end for our kind of running kids here. Kind of the final kind of thing there. If I put something really spooky in there, maybe it might look like they're running away from it or something like that. So, oh, I found that little creature here too, that little box like that. One time I put this lightning kind of upside down coming from it. I gotta use this little piece in here sometime. Oh, this is a Ken Brown stamp too. So that was the one that I was thinking about that I couldn't, find. It was in a different box, although that could be there. It's like this little totem or something like that. That would be kind of cool up there. But okay, I was looking at this again, and just on the spur of the moment, I was thinking that eyeball would be really cool there. It seems like a final thing. It was too big on the other piece, but this is the final piece, and I don't know, it's a pretty dominant visual there, so I don't know. Might have to add that in there. Hello, Froggy Fresh CM. Thanks for joining in again here. We're going to finish off this composition and maybe get to some of the exciting toning portion of it. But let's see what we can add it in here. Let me add in some of the things that I know are going to go in here. And when I found some of these additional images that would have been cool to use in here, I was thinking, man, do I want to do cutouts? I'm not sure, because I just haven't done them on the previous pieces. So I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to add that in there. Okay, so with something like this would be easy for me to stamp out and cut out. There's, you know what I mean? There's no thin parts. I can add that in, and I can have like a, some rune like up against the wall, you know what I mean? Or somewhere. It could be like buried kind of underground too. Or I could have it, I don't know, just in some other areas, but I don't know, it's just so big. I was thinking about doing that. But again, I haven't done that in the previous two pieces, like added in things after the fact, just by, stamping them out and, taping them down like that. So I'm not sure if I want to do that. I don't know for what reason. It's not like, I'm like some kind of stamping monster map purist or something like that where we can't add in things, I mean, this piece right here should really represent kind of an absence of, rules to me. So I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure. Okay, so let's add in some of those other things in here that we're going to be doing. I'm going to add in a cave entrance, and I thought, let's use this rock here. I wasn't thinking about doing that, but I think that will provide a nice structure for this hill here. And I thought that would work pretty well. It'll create a little bit more of a definitive entryway. All right. So let's see how this goes here. Let's see. Let's go with the ripped portion of the mask here. Okay. Let's see. I masked out a little bit too much there. So go in here like this. Go down like that. It's been exciting to watch people's people's map making. Oops, I went too far up there. We'll get that with tone though. Um, it's been exciting to watch the maps emerging on people posting their versions. It's been really cool. All right, so I have that little entryway in there. That's all funky and stuff like that, but we'll get that kind of fixed up there. Um, hmm. Let's see. Oh, I have my ant that I've been using on here, okay, in the previous two pieces. So I want to put that ant in here again as a little bit of a visual bridge. Hello, PNF. Good to see you. Let's see here. Okay, so we have this area right here. So we're going to try to be resolving all of these little spots here. But we have all that space in here, so... all right. Eyeball it is, okay? I haven't thought long and hard about any of this stuff, okay? When I was just going through the pieces, I was looking at the sun, then I thought, it really needs to have some kind of anchoring kind of focal point in this whole piece, and dominant rather than something a little bit recessed like the sunlight was going to be. I was just going to have this void in there. But I thought I need something that's going to suck us up into that place visually, and eyeballs are a really great thing to do that with. Now, if it was just a regular scene, it was a light source or something like that, a moon or something like that, a sun would do it. But we just have too much stuff going on in there. You know what I mean? A sunlight type of thing in there against, ghouls and goblins and snails and everything like that. It didn't have the visual power for that. So, we need to be drawn in there like that. Oh, Debbie, Facebook on the Stampscapes Facebook group too, I think, and it's called something like that. There's only one Facebook group, Stampscapes based one out there. So I don't know. People have posted that up there. So I think, did one person do two of them so far? But most of them are large formats, so it's really exciting to see that too. So you're not only seeing other monster maps, but people doing large scale scenes. So it's like 8.5 by 11. I think someone did a couple 11 by 17s as well. So yeah, it's fun. So, and plus people are kind of posting their preliminary stuff too, so you can see it in sequence too, not just the final piece. And that's always cool to see too. I should really take photos of these as I go along, so that people can kind of see the progression like that. But I don't know. I didn't think to do that. I should do that on these really large pieces like this. Okay, so let's see some other pieces in here. I have this little toy doll here. This one's Viva Las Vegas stamps. I got a skull. It's 100 proof press, a little bit too big. I saw this little guy right here, and I've been wanting to use this little demon here. It kind of goes with this one right here. This one's by Graven Images as well. Light Debil, Debil, by Dennis Palmer, and it's by Graven Images too. But I thought I'm going to put this little guy in this water with this thing. It's like a couple little kids taking a bath together or something like that, Ah, the fun times, for these little creatures here. All right, so I'm going to wipe off the bottom portion like this. If it stamps out a little bit, that'll be good. With this, I'm able to control it with dye-based inks, but sometimes with the stays on, I wipe off a little bit, and I've wiped it off completely because the area that you wipe it off, there's so little of it, and stays on dries so fast, it's like I don't have any of it. Okay, so that I got a little bit of a transition there into gray. And there, remember, this is all going to be white pigment ink, kind of churning water down here. Dr. Martin's probably bleed-proof white down there. So see how he just kind of transitions off like that. I can't zoom in too far, otherwise this camera just loses focus. See, it's all kind of wobbly there. All right, so that can go away. I don't think I have room. Actually, the skull doesn't look too bad right here. It's like continuing on. It's like that skull, I can connect it with this rock right here, I think. See that right there? It's like that. It's a little bit close to this, but I was going to say, who cares? Maybe I do, but I think it's worth a try. And it's kind of looking in that direction of the, you know, whatever, the pathway. So let's try this right here. This is like a medical illustration of a skull. Oh, okay, I don't like this portion of it where it has this little tag where it's mentioning what, portion of the skull that is. It's biomedical illustration. Okay, let's go this way. All right. So see, that kind of solved that a little bit, right? And it kind of, its chin is right on that rock. That was just thought of like right then and there. I think it worked okay. It solved my kind of problem as far as what to put there, though. When in doubt, in your landscape stamping needs, use a half a skull, I guess. Is that the lesson learned there? All right. So let's see here. This little skeleton is like this. I always love these little dancing skeletons like this. He's dancing right here. Here's this other skeleton right there you can really barely see, but I don't know, maybe we can group some skeletons down here, and create like a little grouping of 3 down there, for compositional purposes. So why not? Okay, let's see. Okay, I can't remember if this stamp was registered well. I think so. Gumbo Graphics, they made pretty good stamps as far as registration and everything like that goes. I can't even see that leg down here because the darker area of this rock. So he's behind the rock then, okay? Done with that piece right there. Let's see. Where was that? Someone mentioned hummingbird feeders right there. That's interesting. I was just looking at this photograph yesterday in this Flickr group, and there were a gazillion hummingbirds flying around this one feeder at this house this guy took a picture of. So it's interesting that you mentioned that here. Huh. Okay. I don't know, Debbie, I don't know how you missed them. Like Linda has one, and I don't know, I think there were 2 more or something like that. You got to scroll down or something like that in those groups. Yeah. Yeah, PNF. I mean, one of those things with like Facebook, you can just always create a new account too. Froggy Fresh, I think you mentioned something about that. That sounds vaguely familiar. I don't. It'd be cool. That's what I was mentioning before. People start like a Flickr account. Anyone can see that. You don't have to log into Flickr and able to view these types of things. Where Facebook, you have to log in. So, just open up a free. If anyone wants to open up a free Flickr. Oops, look at this. I just moved my hand around there. This is so hot. This ant moved on me. I don't know. This cushion on here is, falling apart or something like that. It's still sticky, but you shouldn't be able to move that around on there like that. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Flickr, if people want to start a Flickr account, post it on there, and then post their things in the Stampscapes group uh, that I started on Flickr. Anyone can post in there. You have to be a Flickr member, but yeah, just start the free account, and it gives you plenty of free space to utilize. There's pro accounts too. If you add a gazillion photographs or videos or something like that. But otherwise, it's just a free kind of photo sharing thing. All right, so I want some ants here because I've used it in the other scenes. Okay. And I want to create kind of a visually kind of cluttered and loud composition here, believe it or not. Clutter can be good here. And, all right. See, yeah, as large as these pieces are, it's like I'm out of space now. I don't think I have room for this bat. I mean, it really would have been good having this bat hanging from the ceiling and this type of thing. So, um, yeah. Oh, PNF has a Flickr. Yeah, Flickr was one of those things. It was real popular back in the heyday of like 2005. And then it became much more popular, post on like Google Photos and Google sharing and all that type of thing, and Facebook and whatnot, Shutterfly, all those other ones. But it's still, I don't know. I still have my account. All right, I'm going to put that bat there. Yeah, why not? It goes against my kind of instinct to do this right here, but this is like my final piece of these maps for the year. I think. I don't know. I mean, I might do another one. I don't know if I'm going to do it in 11 by 17 or something like that. So I really want to get some of these images in this final piece. It's like their last chance. These poor stamps. Oh my God, that is a really beautiful image too. Oh boy. I'm gonna do two, because those bats are usually hanging out in like a community. So I'm just gonna put a little tiny bit. It's going to kind of frame off the scene like that, a little bit up there. Here, let me clear this out right here. All right. So we see that. Sorry, my head's in the way of this portion of the scenario, composition, whatever. All right. Oh, is that what happened? Froggy Fresh? Wow. Okay, so I thought about this little urn. Okay, I'm not going to put that down there. I wanted to put this somewhere else in here, though. Maybe not. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I don't know. I'll try to figure out somewhere for that. Okay, I think 2 bats are good right here. Look at this little little thing right here. Can you see that? It's like a little face with little... I have no idea what this thing is. But I bought that stamp somewhere. It's all kind of that hand kind of sanding on the side. They have those power sanders. But this one is by Jumpstart Studio. Oh, it's in Torrance, California. Huh. It's in the LA region. But can you imagine there was a time when there was a market for these types of images out there, I don't know if it was being sold in mass, but still some company, had this out there, and it looks like it's like a custom size for that type of thing. But that little thing like that could be cool coming out of, the flames of like something like that. But I don't think I have space in there for that. This little guy still would kind of like to have him in there somewhere. This kind of totem, but I just at this point in time, I think it just doesn't fit in there. Here's this kind of this Grecian type of little head in here too. I just don't think I have room for it anymore. When do we, not have room for, in these 11 by 17 pieces that are kind of designed for a lot of clutter to not have space? It's kind of weird. Okay, so here's one of my favorite little guys. This one was from, yeah, the stamp company was called Yes, Pigs Can Fly. All right. And I'm going to have some lines coming through his legs where this image is in here, but I think that fits so well right there. It just, I don't know, it's like a perfect sitting spot for this little whatever it is. I've done scenes before where this creature's like sitting like on top of a mountain. That's the way I saw it being used, like in the moonlight, like the guru or something like that, that people kind of go, climb the mountain to go, seek, wisdom from. Oh, let's go like that. But really funky types of imagery. And there was our Yes, Pigs Can Fly segment of this video. All right, let's see. You know what? As I was looking at this piece, from a Halloween standpoint, I was saying there's no like I don't have enough of the like skeletons in here. I was thinking or something, in this. So yeah. Temple of Doom is more like it, huh? In this type of scenario here. So let's add in. I thought, let's add in some more of these, kind of skeleton-y type of things. We can add one down here. There's a skeleton over here. I can have this one kind of like laying in the dirt here, like partially under the dirt. I think, let me see. Okay, so see right here, this one is already right here on that side, and that's part number 2. I don't want to have it again right here in the third one, but I think we can get away with it up here, just laying right up there, and have it not look, so repetitive or something like that. So let's do that. I think I'm just going to have it all out of the, just kind of line down right here. It's like a Pirates of the Caribbean, when you go around a corner or something like that, and there's like those little scenarios with those skeletons all throughout the ride. For those that, if you haven't seen, if there's anyone on watching that hasn't seen the Monster Maps number 1 and 2, it's this whole type of thing right here is supposed to be this kind of like amusement park ride or a game board or if this is like a map to like an amusement park with these types of things in here with these different types of scenes or rides or settings or something like that within this space. And the whole big trick about this for me is it's blending all of these different types of things together in some kind of cohesive scenario, I guess. And it was a big challenge to do it through imagery on my first one. But after I did that first one, I thought there's so much that we can do with tone and things like that, coloring. So these whole things like this, well, yeah, it's important, but it's not as important as you might think because of what we can do with just shade and color, and everything like that. So it really opens up a lot of avenues to really kind of just, I don't know, go crazy with our imagery and to improvise and whatever, and not really have to worry about like maybe details when it comes to something like this, because there's just so much going on that, like, I even forgot, to do a lot of things like with color and lighting and the other ones, because it's just so big and there's just so much going on. We don't have to get, finish off the pieces like we normally do. So it might seem strange, but it's like surprisingly quite liberating from so many different standpoints. It's really kind of weird in some ways. It's like that doing something so big that would take more time. It's like, in terms of techniques and whatnot, that we might be employing on smaller pieces, because on smaller pieces, every little thing, has a more significant role. That's been kind of interesting for me to I don't know, to see here. Okay, so adding a little bit of foreground down here, these types of things like this little bush like that, kind of creating a little bit more of a visual lead-in into the scene. And then it's also, I'm doing that because I want to have some of these things kind of hanging in from the ceiling as well, like that, to represent those little root structures or whatnot. Okay. Let's see. I almost forgot what I was going to do in here. So this little area back in here, let's create a little bit more of a background texture to that little creature, whatever, there. I hope I get kind of a lighter version. Yeah, I want a nice light version in there. Okay. Of this. Can I get a second impression? I'm not sure. It might already be too dry, but I want to create a little bit of a like rock in the background there, but not too much, because I want that little creature to be kind of, kind of backlit with some lighting in there. Or should it be in a shroud of darkness now? I don't know. Maybe the darkness would be better, huh? So even things like that I don't really have resolved here. We'll figure it out, though, when we start toning it in like that. All right. So anyways, Debbie remembers Yes, Pigs Can Fly. That's unbelievable. That was kind of one of those, that wasn't a big company by any means. Their catalog, I don't know if they had like 100 images. It was rather small, because I remember I looked through it, or maybe I have one, the catalog, but it's like when I looked through it, some cool imagery, but the ones that I found like 2 or 3 images, and I remember like going into Stampa Barbara, and surprisingly, I'd walk out with a Yes, Pigs Can Fly image each time. It was the ones that caught my eye. But then when I looked online, it was like, oh, I think I got the ones that I want, out of the entire catalog. And it was on different visits to the store. And they had like stamps from basically every company that was out there. Practically. Maybe not every single one, but they tried to have a pretty good selection of just about every company that was out there, so that I think their whole concept was one-stop shopping in terms of a brick and mortar retail environment for stamps. So they had a lot. Okay, let me see. All right, so this is going to be a larger little skeleton here. I don't know. Down there. I haven't used this one in years. This one's onion art, so he's kind of like underground there. Okay, so we have our little collection of little skeletons, skeleton party down here. I used to use this one for Halloween cards on the outsides of my envelopes a lot. Not, it wasn't the Stampscapes, card, but just sending Halloween cards out. Let's see, the skeleton's head would have fit nicely in that curve to the right. Where's that? The curve to the right. Over here? Where? Here? You have to say where, K. Under quadrant C5. I'll do like this: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like Battleship or whatever. All right, create a little bit of a textural anchoring for this little guy, about like so. All right. It's getting a little bit more exciting in terms of visuals, in here. I think we're just about ready to go in with the toning portion of it. All right, let's see what else we have here that I pulled out of here. This one, next time, I think, it's just not going to fit in here. I could put it on top of this, but I don't want to block this off. I want this corner readily available for the viewer to kind of walk in through that way, about like so. Something could go above the snails, but I think it's just going to be some tone like that. Falling out like that. Illumination right there. Darker out here, kind of. I might add in some light beams coming into this. Maybe not extending too far, but I think that might do it. Under the snails. Oh, what skull? This one? Could. Let me see. If I have something small there, maybe, like that. That might be bad right there, like this. Let's see. I do need, a little bit more, we do need a little bit more skeletal action in here. Like that. But I think that head might be a little bit too big because I already toned in here. Let me do this right here. Let me do this one though. I just got to make sure that I don't stamp it into the that rock area up there. Okay, so a little one right there. It's like a little. It's either buried under the sand or he's doing like sand swimming. That looks pretty good. I like that little head in there. Maybe it could be like a visual type of thing running through it. All right, so you can do these little things like this, one of those hidden object games where you have like, little heads in like these textures in here. And it's like, okay, you have this little key down here. It says find, 16 skulls or whatever. And then people can go and find stuff like that. It'd be good to, give to some kid, and you say like, find 3 or 4 ants or something like that. I think you'd have to, the kid would have to be, I don't know, how old could the kid be? 7 maybe? Oh, here was my other smaller piece right here. All right, that's where it went to. All right. Let's see. Anything else here? I like, okay, so they have these like bats hanging right here. I'm going to use this just flock. It's like a flock of birds, okay, but I don't have like a flock of bats. But since those bats are hanging there, this is going to represent bats. Oh, and I have the smaller one right here, so I'm going to put that like right there. They'll be a little bit more obscured in light in the background there, but let's put this in. I'll ink it up. I'll wipe off some of these other ones around here, the smaller ones, so if they stamp out a little bit lighter, it'll give me a little bit of a head start, to some of those background ones. Let's do it again here. You have those bats flying out of those caverns sometimes, and there's like, like a gigantic swarm of them. I don't know, what do you call a bunch of bats? It's not a flock. I forgot. It's not like a gaggle. That's geese. All right, so let's see. Man, I think this is the busiest one we've done so far. Not that that represents, something good, but I don't know, it's crammed full of information for sure. Why do all skeletons lean to the left? I don't know. Do they? Maybe so. That's something for Siri, maybe, Kay. Or what is that? What's that Amazon one? Okay. Yeah, skeleton action. That's what our Halloween cards call for. Or that's what you guys called for, and we aim to please here. Yeah. So see, this one's right here. This one's like going left too. So that, I don't know, that reinforces that whole observation there. That would have been a good one. Have like some little kind of like orb right here or something like that. Or if you do another scene and you have like an eyeball up there. I'm not talking about like on this scene right here, but wouldn't that be cool? That'd be a cool visual like that. I don't know if it's Halloween, but who cares? It looks cool. All right, so I can't use that one. This one was Curtis Away. It almost looks like graven images with that little demon there, but there's just no room for this one, so that one's going here. Oh boy, that's that. There was no room for I don't think there's room for this. That'd have been cool like that. Like it's like, it's like petting that head right there, but I'd block off our entry point like that. I can have that coming in from the side like that though. Here. In the shadows, maybe? I have that dark thing right there. So if I stamp that right over it, the fingers would disappear in there, so. I'm going to put this right there. Just because, not because I think it'd look good, but I just want to get it in there because I want to use it in one of these pieces. I don't know if we'll be able to see it, but any of you watching right now, you'll know that it's there. I don't think, I think it's one of those things that probably wouldn't even be noticed otherwise when I get done with this, but yeah. I don't know, it kind of creates a little bit of tension too with that hand kind of coming into that that head right there. It's like, if you can, I mean, I didn't do it throughout this piece. It would have been better if I did, with a little bit more planning. But if you create these kind of like visual relationships between two objects within these pieces like that. So it's like, little dancing skeleton is up here, but if you had like a little dancing, thing, actually I do, I have a fairy, you know what I mean? But this thing's looking at it, so if you had something like that, where this is like looking, and if there was another thing dancing right here, I mean, that would be really, really cool. So you create this kind of visual dialogue between things. I mean, this one's a little bit, but it'd be even kind of stronger if there was like another one of these, like over here, looking at you know what I mean? Looking at each other or something like that. Love at first sight. Those types of things within these really busy structures like that are kind of fun to do. So, yeah. Okay, a colony of bats. Thank you, Chris. What is that candy? I can't even pronounce that right there. Ziggu ziggurat. Is the T silent on that? Okay, so going in with these pebbles here just to get a little bit more texture because I've used this in the other scenes too. Okay, it's a lighter rock than the solid, even though it's small. Tiny rocks. I need to get some texturing in here because all of this open space in here, that type of thing for me is not, I don't know, it's a little bit more hectic to tone in all of those areas like that. So I add in this texture in here to really give me a strong head start with the toning process because it's, you know, this is big, so it's going to take a lot of toning, you know, to add all that in there. So this doesn't have to be in there well, as you can clearly see the way I'm doing it here, but I just want to get something in there rather than just bare blank paper, okay? And I'm not even doing this. I'm not giving it a real good solid impression. I'm just going for a little bit of a texture like that. PNF like the hand. So in the final result, they'll see that hand in there. It'd be kind of cool to have that hand coming in from various areas too, you know, if it would read. Even the hand like down here would have been cool, you know. Yeah, those people in the background like that. Fumes in the cave, yeah. Oh, that's cool, Chris. I never saw, there are bats out at Joshua Tree National Park. I'd see them in one campground. There'd be like one bat kind of flapping around, like around twilight, you know, at a time. Maybe it was the same bat kind of flapping around, but that's the only time I saw him out in the wild. But then sometimes I'd be hiking around and I'd be going into these abandoned mine shafts. I never went in like, you know, it didn't go spelunking, you know, some of these things would be going back, you know, I don't know, 10 yards, you know, 20 yards at most. But sometimes there would be like one bat on the ceiling, you know, about the size of like a little, like a hamster or something like that, just sitting up there. But that's the extent of bat sightings that I've seen. Okay, let's see. See, this one would have been cool too, but it's just too big for this. I would have had to work around this type of thing. You can have it come, you know, from behind a rock or something. I'm not saying right now. It's just too late. It's just too big. But there's I had this image from I don't even know it. Oh, it's 100 proof press again. So, yeah, something like that would have been cool too. All right, so let's see. Oh, the doll. Yeah, you know. Nothing more scary to me than doll haunted horror movies with a doll in it. Those ones always kind of freak me out. Not really Chucky, you know, but other ones like Twilight Zone and stuff. Yeah, I just don't have room in that. But that would have been cool, like in a cave, like someone's like drop doll, you know. That we could have added those little glowing eyes to or something like that would have been cool too. Oh, the cave has been blocked to protect the bats. Yeah, I've seen that on documentaries where they block it off, but you know it's wide open for the bats to come in and out of like that. Is Pebbles the name of your skeleton? Bats live in your shed. Oh, wow. That's cool. They probably, if you had a little bat, I think, don't people have like bat roosts, right? You can have a bat roost, so it helps like gets rid of a lot of the insects, like in the yard and stuff like that, right? That sounds familiar to me. All right, let's see here. I want some, you know, maybe that's a little bit too much here. Let me go with the leafless lens. I'm going to have some of these things coming down like it's a little bit of... I don't think we'll be able to see this too much, but I just want a little bit of extra, I don't know, kind of cavey kind of root structuring in here. Okay, the building is the United States government building. Avila Road. Huh. Interesting. I never heard of that. For those that don't know, I lived in, Huntington Beach wasn't too far from Lagoon and Nagel. That's why I say I haven't, I didn't hear it. I never heard of that. I lived in Huntington Beach for years and years and years. I wasn't down in Lagoon and Nagel too much, but, it's not too far. If it was like something featured there. Sacred Babylonian. Oh. Ah. That is pretty cool. All right, so a lot of this stuff coming from the top here. All right. I want it to look a little bit, I don't know, kind of busy and kind of, not real inviting. Not that this cave, looks inviting otherwise, but I don't know, just a little bit more kind of crude, of a location like that. So there's a little bit more texturing up there, just kind of breaking up some of those rocks a little bit. And plus, I have other rock features down here, but when I have this kind of stuff kind of hanging in there, it just kind of creates a little bit of kind of maybe a textural separation from that area up there, saying it's kind of a different, I don't know, location within the map. It represents the ceiling, maybe. Hello, Linda. Hello, everyone that I missed joining in there. South Australia, good to see you again. Welcome, welcome. What time is it for you there, Linda? Let's see. Yeah. That, I would want a bat house if I was in an area with a lot of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes eat me alive. This thing would have been cool too. This one's a stamp by Serendipity Stamps from 2010. So not that old. Okay. Yeah, why not? Okay. Oh my gosh, it is getting really hot here underneath these lamps. All right, it's going to get a little bit... You hear all the traffic noise going by, but I got to open a window here. All right. Thanks to anyone that's joined in and is watching. I haven't been watching the board here because I'm like working on those final little bits of the compositional part of this, so trying to figure out how it's all going to come together here. All right, so I got to pull out, I don't know, whatever type of plant that is. Anyone a botanist? I don't know what that would. I don't know what that would represent. Not that it's like has to be anything, you know, specific. Okay, so a little bit more structuring down here. Okay, so those types of things aren't. They don't play like a gigantic role, but if you look at these things like this, okay, that's like a composition down here. That does play a pretty significant role down that way like that. So, you know, I try to look at these things in these different types of areas like that, and if it kind of looks visually interesting as is like that, then I think on the whole, it looks good. So for me, when I do this right here, and this is a little bit higher composition like this, I guess, I don't know, that could be like a card like that. Something's kind of missing for me, like right down in this area. I don't know, I could, you know, I could put a slug when all, you know, when in doubt, use a slug maybe. Yeah, let's put that slug. But let's okay. So this is a brand new stamp. I've never used it before. So you're seeing the great reveal, great slug reveal. You know, which is what the scene was all about. Is using this one stamp for the very first time. I'm gonna have that slug crawling on the you know, the top of this. I don't know what it is, like a pediment or something like that. Oh, you can't even barely, you can barely even see it, but I don't know. Again, we know it's there. I don't know if that did it for me visually, you know, and took care, it didn't really take care of that place. It's not a silhouette of a thing though, so. Hello, Paulette, good to see you. Yeah, you know, we're trying to sufficiently clutter, you know, this whole piece like this. We're really trying to throw in like the kitchen sink, anything that hasn't been used that I wanted to use in the previous two pieces. It's like crowbarring it in here if I can. Some of it just didn't make the cut. It just, they were too big by this point in time. But I don't know. I think I think we got in a lot of it, you know, that I wanted to. You know, including the slug. All right. So, this area right in here, though. What do you guys think? Something in here? I mean, I can put on the tone, too, and see what it's going to look like then, too. So, castor plant. Thank you, Chris. You got to break out the slug, Kay. Everyone should have a slug, right? Isn't that the saying in rubber stamping, you know? Hello, Paulette. Welcome to the monster map clutter making process video here. All right, let's see if we can bring a little bit of, you know, I don't know, some semblance of lighting, volume kind of making, and whatnot in here. I can't even see I can barely see my rock walls in here now. I mean, it gave it a structure for these things to be crawling on top of, but like those ants there, but yeah, everything's kind of getting absorbed in here. I need to, you know, resolve a bunch of these little areas in here that castor plant. I've created some types of you know, what would normally be a little bit of kind of some visual kind of problems if it was on a smaller thing in terms of blending some things in, but again, on this type of format, I don't think it, you know, it hasn't mattered so far at least. Okay, so putting a couple little things over here just to kind of close that off a little bit. And okay, here's another one too. I'm not sure if the, yeah, I don't know, that one's reasonably well registered. Okay, so see that like that? That kind of framed off that little bottom portion like that again. Hey, one of the things I think what I'm doing too, now that I think about it, I think what I'm doing is I'm trying to compose like this, okay? A composition. And bring in these types of little elements like that, that's going to make that type of statement. Then I'm composing like this, so these two areas kind of framed off this at the bottom. And then you're doing the same thing on these little things, like you're building the scene like that, then you're doing the things that kind of you would do if the scene was that big, and then you're doing something on the overall that's kind of treating the whole thing. I think that's what's going on. I think I'm kind of going in and out, micro, macro type of thing here. So, all right, so let's get to it here. Oh my God, you should see my floor right now next to where I'm stamping. There's a pile of 6 deep stacks of stamps there. Puddle, put that in the empty spot. Oh, down here, huh? Well, I have the pond, but see this. I want this to be a walkway though. That you know, the kids are, you know, the people are entering here and walking in here, but smaller ones would be cool, huh? And let me tone in here and let's see what it looks like. But I think something in, yeah, something in here would be good. Although this is going to be a light right here, and there's going to be this kind of glowing orb right here, so that we are going to have some variation here. Let's see what it's going to look like here. I'll put, whoever wins the contest with this one, I'm going to put some graffiti of your name right here. I'm just joking. That'd be a good idea though, huh? I should do something like that when we're doing like rocks or something like that, where we'll deface the rock, you know, with your name there, you know? Okay. I think what I did on my previous pieces here, look at this, we're using our masking products here with our next process right here, so we don't waste anything. Okay. Luke Tawan videos hides Waldo in That's cool. I couldn't hide something in here because I would be showing everyone where it's going though. You know. Or maybe what I should do, you know, and something like this where we're doing it, I'll just say, all right, everyone cover their eyes, you know, and I'll, you know, okay, you know, now look at it again. Would that work? Okay, so this is all, you know, so I use the stays on here just because, now, it probably would dry fast enough even if I went in directly with this with dye-based inks or whatever types of inks. And it probably wouldn't be a problem, but that's why I'm using the stays on this one. I don't have to, you don't have to. You can use whatever ink that you want, but on something like this, I just didn't want to have to like wait even like an extra 5 minutes or something like that. Okay, so all right, so before I start this off, this is a big kind of lighting issue, you know, when we're talking about shadows and light or something like that, and how to approach it, right? So an easy way to approach things is to think in terms of like little objects, or you can think of the whole too, you know, where the whole thing is going to be generally contained a little bit. So I usually darken in my corners unless we have something that's so significant a visual down there, like an eyeball or something like that, or something that you really want to stand out. But generally I make the 4 corners a little bit darker, and then I encroach a little bit where it's a little bit of a stronger vignette, okay? So when we look at something like this, okay, see how it's kind of dark on the outside perimeters, but I do address the individual things in here. All right. So you can do it like that, or other ways, okay? Or you can think of your grand lighting scheme too. You know, I'm going to have this, just in general, this is going to be the more illuminated area because it's kind of the end of this map right here and end of the road where the kids are kind of running towards that, you know what I mean? It's a little bit more, has a feeling of finality like that if they're running into the light, as opposed to if I made that all dark, you know, I don't know if it would pull the viewer's eye up there, you know, towards the eye in this case, okay? Little things like this, water. I tend to think of water as very reflective and more reflective than rocks. So I want to leave that somewhat illuminated too. There's a little waterfall in here, you know. I want it to be in the darkness a little bit, but I want that illuminated, so areas around that will be toned in. Little eyeballs like that, you know, it's probably, you know, we want to leave that illuminated, so things like that, you know, are taken into consideration. So, okay, so in other words, there are many ways to approach it, okay? So this is a real bluish gray for some reason. I thought they added in a little bit too much blue into this because I think the London fog normally is very gray, and it's more of a neutral gray. It's not like a cool gray. And this is the Memento ink. All right. Doesn't have to be. I'm just going, it happened to be one of the grays that I have, okay? So I added this shadow down here, so I'm just going to end and reiterating that type of thing, okay? But see, here's this kind of perimeter application, and it's just done in a very light tone like this for right now. We talked about checkerboarding before, where also one of the approaches you can take is just the oscillation of light and dark in here. So you see this right here, it's like a little bit dark, light. See this little darkness like this? Light, dark. You know, that water, again, is kind of reflecting some of the light. It doesn't have to be anything like formal objects or anything like that too. It could just be areas. If this whole area is rock, I would do light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, oscillating across like that. So again, think about like checkerboarding to create a more varied surface. You don't always have to do that. Like in a small scene, there might be, you know, it might be like light in the middle where there's moonlight and dark everywhere, like that, you know. But when you have these larger pieces like this, or just different areas, it could be an area on water. Think about kind of that little oscillation, and then what you're doing is you're coloring, but you're also lighting at the same time, as opposed to only coloring in something like that. So when it comes to coloring and lighting, it's just about the retention of some of the lighter areas of your card. It might be the white of the paper, or it just might be a lighter tone that you've applied. But when you go into your darker tones, you don't go into those lighter tones that you've already applied. So oscillate like that, and that's your lighting right there. It's kind of, a lot of people, when they're coloring in whole areas, kind of more like a stained glass type of approach to coloring, where you have these zones of color that are universally colored with no variation, or very little variation, okay? But this is just the retention of some of those lighter areas. So this is ground in here, you know, instead of just going in, let's say if I was doing this all in color, that, you know, someone might think of it all as brown. So they'd color in that whole thing universally brown, which they can do. I would do that with the lightest tones, but then when you go in with your darker tones, keep that in the shadow areas, and then you'll have that illumination throughout the piece. All right, so every time I re-ink this, I'm kind of going in these darker areas here, okay? Like that, like so. I'm probably going in a little bit too much in some of these areas where, you know, maybe I should leave it a little bit lighter, you know, but if I do that, I'm just keeping in mind that I can always go in with some white pigment ink at the end. Monster map graffiti. Okay, let's see. Let's get this right in here. I should sign this piece like I should put like a tombstone in here somewhere, or like a little marker on the ground that says, you know, I should put my own name, like Kevin, R.I.P. or something like that. That'd be cool on a card, instead of signing your name. Yeah, it's a little bit, weird. People put, we're putting ourselves in the grave, but it'd be kind of cool for a signature kind of idea. Or on one of these little things like that, I can put my initial on that like that. All right, so I'm not really considering too much of these things giving off illumination. I don't want to have it too light around there, because if I have it too light, then we won't be able to see those glowing little light orbs. So I have to make it a little bit darker behind them like this, okay? All right, and I want there to be this illumination coming up from in here, but if I want some illumination in there, I have to make, some areas around it a little bit darker so that I can put some white back into it. But it'll be a different textural white. It'll be the white pigment ink in here streaming in there, okay? All right, so let's see if you can see what I was talking about in here. So this little area in here, we're leaving the light a little bit light, the water a little bit lighter like that, capturing some of the light. I put some streaks in here, like about like so. And I'll make this a lot darker, so this will be water texture in there. Speaking of water texture, let me hit that. Let me hit it with some dye-based ink here. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so just using it for texture again. I'm not trying to go for the whole, like, one impression like that, okay? See how that kind of anchored that little creature down in here. And then, here's a much drier version. I'll put some of those textures back in that distance right in there, okay? I have a little bit more control over it with, a dye-based ink that's not going to be drying like, within like 1 second on me. This little hole right here reminds me of this series on Netflix called Dark. They were constantly going into this cave. All right, toning in this wall here. I can add quite a bit of this tone in here with this. Hello, Slow Crafter. Good to see ya. Anyone else that's on? Thanks for checking out the vid, checking out the stream here. Okay. Can you guys see the kind of the oscillation of light and dark within here? And again, it's not, too important, what you get. I mean, if I made it darker here and lighter here, then so be it. There's no thing, it's just set, formula or anything like that. It's just, see, like that little rock in here, I've kind of made that one a little bit darker. We'll leave some of these a little bit lighter like that. But it just varies the surface for, again, just a little bit of visual variety. Okay, and in general, I'm trying to keep some of this a little bit lighter. It's a little bit too light right now. It really needs some tone in there, but this is just kind of the preliminary, you know, whatever lighting scheme design in here. So I guess we're designing with stamps, and when you add in these tones, you're designing your scenes with. It's kind of your lighting concept, but you're really, you know, you're designing, you're doing it with shadow, you know, shade. You know, we're not going and adding light to anything. You're just developing shadows and retaining the light. So here's this kind of loop type of thing, kind of starting to reveal itself a little bit. You know, this is just with the first color too. God, that London fog just does not look. This looks summer sky to me. That blue, not quite, but it's almost like greenish too. And again, this one was a semi-gloss here. It's not a gloss that I'm working on because I'm going to be doing so much colored pencil work on here. You know, the glossy or something like that wouldn't be conducive for that type of medium. Too slick. All right, this would be a really good paper if someone was doing. I don't know if any of you work. You know, I've hardly seen anyone ever work with in stamping charcoals, but charcoals would be really good for something like this, I think, or a Conte crayon, something like that on this surface. It has enough tooth to be able to take those things. Maybe not, well, I don't know. I think charcoal would be good. Some types of charcoal. Some would just, you know, flake right off of it, but some of it that has a little bit more kind of grip to it might be kind of interesting. Okay, so anyways, that's the first color in there, all right? Let's see. Do I still have where's my gray? Perfect. Gray, Marvy Ranker. It's a little bit darker than this and a lot more neutral, okay? I'm just going to use the same paper towel here too. It's definitely a different scene for me, Slow Crafter. It's just in terms of the size of it, the clutter, I don't know, this type of, you know, whatever, lighting considerations and whatnot going into it. It's fun though. It's when I really like the process of these big pieces though, at least with these monster maps, I really love it when I can go into it with my colored pencil. When I start doing the detailed things in these pieces, you know, that's when my enjoyment level really goes up. The compositional portion, I just feel, I don't know, it's like, I don't know, we do have to be creative and stuff like that, but I feel like it's like my left brain, I'm like analyzing or something like that. So I don't know, maybe it's a whole hemisphere workout, you know, with these large pieces like this. I'm having to think, you know, like Candy was mentioning, you know, it's, you know, there's a lot of things to think about in like these big pieces like this. How to tie everything together, and then what are you going to fill in? You know, sometimes there's like big areas to fill in. And then there's some images that I ran into. It's like, where do we have room for it? So it's like running the gamut of, you know, kind of considerations. It's too big, you know, or it's not too big, but it's really big for certain types of things. And even when it's big like that, it's like certain things just won't fit in. So I'm not really, I don't think about, you know, those types of issues don't come up with, you know, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch cards, you know, a little bit, but not really. All right, so this is the gray. Can you see it kind of where I'm adding it in here? For the most part, it's like I'm reiterating where I've used the previous color. I might be adding a little bit more here and there, you know, because I didn't want it so bluish in there. But you can just kind of follow your lead with your first tone. It kind of sets the you know, the layout for your lighting in there. But that being said, when anyone is kind of doing their first types of coloring this way, from what I've seen in my workshops in the past or whatever, and I don't know, they really don't have problems with that because, you know, when they get into the darker tones, blacks or something like this, I always mention to them, okay, now watch now that you retain your lighting like that, because when they get into those darker tones, sometimes they go in like this and they have their lighting scheme working in here, but then when they go into the darker tones, they're kind of coming in here and then it's like they've lost it, you know, all or something like that. So remember just to hold back a little bit with those darker tones when you get to them. Medium to darker tones like that, you know. Those are the things to consider when doing your shading, lighting, okay? Okay, now some of my waterfall areas, it was just a little bit too stark white like that, so I'm just adding in that tone like that. And again, this is still, you know, fairly light colored value of gray here. It is getting pretty saturated though, you know, especially when you use ink like this and you go like that, you're kind of creating like a little, you know, paintbrush in a way that's transferring a lot of that ink onto the surface here. So, which is a good thing because we're starting to we start to saturate some of these areas in here in both the surface and pulp of the paper, okay? And then when we get to like black in theory, because it's so dark, would be the, you know, the more precarious color to blend onto our scenes like that. But because this paper is kind of saturated with the ink so far, like this, when you're going on there, that black, when we apply it to this, doesn't absorb and grab into the surface so fast, so it's easier to kind of blend it out like that. So you get a richer saturation like that, but it also makes for the ease of blending of those darker tones to come in here, okay? So use a lot of ink and make things real easy for yourself, especially in your lightest of tones, in other words, okay? See that little waterfall's kind of capturing some of that light like that. Darker perimeter, four corners. As I'm flipping around, every time I flip around like something like this and I go like this, I'm always reminded of this, a very early stamping platform that someone had, that someone was selling and marketing, okay, that it was a, you know, plastic Lazy Susan, like a spice rack one, and on it, I don't know what it was. I don't know if you put double stick tape down on it and then you put your card in the middle so that you can kind of turn your, you know, card and work at it from different angles on that Lazy Susan. I was thinking, I didn't say this or, you know, but in my mind I was thinking, well, I just do this. And it wasn't a new product. It was just they were taking a like a kitchen, like like your cupboard, Lazy Susan. It was just they just I don't know, they put it into a different packaging or whatever. Or I don't know, it was picked up at maybe this is like 30 years ago or something like that. I was thinking there might have been something that was purchased at like the dollar store or something like that. All right, getting there a little bit. PNF drew a Tyrannosaurus. Ah, multimedia. Very cool. Let's see. Let's see. It does look green. Yes, it does, Debbie. It looks green to me, too. It looks green like right now. So 10 feet tall. Oh my gosh. So you have to use like charcoal for something like that. You need some like big medium like that. That reminds me of my life drawing classes. Some guys like laid out gigantic sheets on the wall and drew things like that. But that is pretty cool. Time to revisit that though and lay out something that's like 10 feet tall. You're going to do a 10 foot tall monster map. You got to shoot it in time lapse or something like that or whatever and let us see what that looks like. Can you imagine that? It would have to be, it'd be cool. So they had those doodle art, like coloring book types of things back when that were really big. And, it's like everyone spreads out and they kind of work on it, color it from their different angles. But if you had like some kind of, I know this person that would get, they would have a bunch of people over to stamp and they would call it a rubber stamp slam. Okay. They just invite a bunch of friends over and it was a rubber stamping party. And these are people that didn't stamp too. The people that they were inviting over. And, they just put out a bunch of pads and stamps and they get to just stamp. But if you had like some gigantic piece, huge, and, everyone just kind of worked on the same piece. I don't know if he'd be able to do that. I guess if it was big enough, it was like 5 feet wide, people aren't going to get in, each other's way. Or you have 4 people. One person works from down here, 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 and, and you do something like this. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? So whenever anyone has the next stamping party and invite a bunch of people over, you can do that. And then take photographs and document it and send it into Rubber Stamp Madness. They would probably publish it. Okay, so that is that. With the gray, I think that is it with the gray. Maybe not. Let's see. My next step is black. And let me see. Let me bring some of this tone in here a little bit more. Now remember, we still have the colored pencil. Black, I've used not the StazOn black, but the VersaFine Clair to get darker out here. One of the things about having a really saturated surface like this is that you can blend really easily on there, but when the surface and pulp of the paper it's not super saturated, but it is really moist. Sometimes it's hard to transfer additional moisture down there in the form of a darker color. So, that's where changing up and going with a different, binder, going from water-based to oil-based like that, you can get darker on there. Unless you just, I mean, you can also let it just dry or something like that and set up and come back to it later, and then it's accepting more. But, oh no, the VersaFine works really good on here. Okay, so see this is getting really dark like this. So again, when you're using this, don't go like this, where it's like super dark like that. But see, it's kind of like, I'm going like this, going for this kind of lighter kind of application like that. So if I'm going from dark to light, I'm spending a little more time down here like this, and I'm working in. And it's a little textural. It's not like some perfect, smooth application, but when you're doing it over all this imagery like that, you can't see that like pattern like that, okay? So it's not like some kind of like this real delicate process or something like that that I'm doing here. So that's another thing that people always say, hey, you make it look so easy. Well, I'm just adding this down here. But what I'm doing is I'm not going in here like this and then putting it down here and then getting this big mark. I'm just kind of lining it out here. It's almost like I'm applying this wet medium on here, but I'm doing it more like I am, it's almost like you're thinking more in terms of like you're using a charcoal, like we were just talking about, in terms of the spirit of it. Good night, Froggy Fresh. All right, so we're getting in. This is where it's really kind of fun for me, is when I start seeing these types of tones kind of coming into the mix here. Let me turn down my exposure here. Okay, here we go. All right. All right, so let's see. All right, so remember what I was saying. When you get into those darker tones, just kind of be careful about your, I guess it's the application rate. Don't try to get into too dark of tones like really fast, okay? I mean, you could, but I find it better just to kind of go really lightly like this. So it's black, but it's using like I don't know, it's like a 3% gray or something like that, when you're applying it down here like that. And that way I don't get as many surprises, like unintentional, undesirable surprises, what I'm talking about here. Okay, let's see. Let's go and address this area right in here. See this, a little bit of illumination in there, darker here. See, I haven't really re-inked this, in a while, because this ink is also darker to begin with, so, I can get a lot of mileage out. See, I'm still getting that same tone out of this one inking here, okay? All right. Murky. It's real muddy looking right now. I don't have a lot of variation in here. That's where the colored pencil will come into play. Okay, so keep that in mind. I always like to point out in these whole processes like this it doesn't look good right now, okay? I'm not worried about that because I can bring in a lot of extra contrast and things like that. This is kind of like a preliminary layer on here, okay? And I mention that all the time because a lot of times when people get to a point like this and they're looking around in here, you know what I mean? From a coloring standpoint, okay? That would be an undesirable end result here for me. But it's the preliminary thing, so we're still building up these tones and whatnot, and then we're still going to be doing some detailed lighting. We're going to be adding in pigment ink and all that type of stuff. So sometimes it's not always, if someone's doing this for the first time, it's not always apparent kind of what the end result might be looking like. Unless they're following along or something like that, doing a stamp along type of process, they can see mine and whatever, or whoever's doing it. But this is kind of like this is like the scene's kind of ugly period right here. you know, there's not a lot of contrast and whatnot, or textural variation. Okay. See, I anchored down that little creature in here. I think I'm going to do a little Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof Light splatter painting around at the base of that, you know, water. So I'll give it, that white, a little bit of something to contrast against right here in the form of this shadow, okay? See this rock right here, you know, there's some lighting on it. Maybe I'll darken in that part. I'll leave that part a little bit lighter like that. All right, I think that's about as dark as that's going to get right there. But see, look at this little area now. Isn't that kind of fun? Let's see. Thank you, Kay, for filling in there. How hot is it, Kevin? I don't know. I feel like it's like, well, at my desk here, it's probably like 90. I want it to, from a psychological standpoint, I'm hoping that I'm being, you know, as the more I work on this and the darker it gets, hopefully I'm being kind of psychologically transported into the scene where it's a nice, cool, like 45 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a tonal underwear, under layer, not underwear, but yeah, under layer, like PNF said. So see that right there? So see this area right in here, now that I'm getting darker, that looks better, right? But this, you know, this doesn't look so good. This part right here, people are doing this for the first time. This is where they, you know, they get to this and they panic. Well, they don't panic. They think, oh my God, that looks terrible, you know, and then they put it aside, and sometimes they go back to it. I always tell people to just, you know, if you don't know where to go or something like that in a scene, just kind of put it inside and, you know, go back to it later. Some people on the Facebook group have mentioned things like, okay, they were going through their stack of kind of unfinished scenes. Luckily, they kept them, and they have, you know, come up with their kind of technique or visual solutions, you know, a year later or something like that, or I don't know. I think some of them would be even longer than that. But oftentimes it's, you know, little textural additions to that. It's usually not imagery additions. It's usually ways to kind of finish off their pieces or whatnot. So it would be going from something like that, you know, now it's coming into form a little bit more, but those little types of things make a big difference, you know, so adding a little bit more contrast in there. This to me too, it's getting a little bit muddled, so if I stamp something like something sharp and crisp next to that, it will be a nice contrast. But let's see. This is going to be glowing right here. Okay, I'm not going to be able to see that. I have to make things a little bit darker back here for the purpose of these two things. But out of context, without this little glowing orb that I'm going to have on each one of these little things, this area right back in here wouldn't make sense wouldn't make sense to tone out. But I need to, because I want to see that, those little lighting kind of touches that we're going to be adding in here. Okay. So in other words, just keep developing your pieces, keep developing it. Work through the tones, work through your, whatever things that you're going to be adding in there, and allow things to develop. And you might, it might be something, you might be developing some new types of techniques or whatnot in the process. All right, so see that down there? How that's kind of, we're getting our kind of tonal variation in there. This is a little bit glary too, this paper, even though it's kind of it's not glossy, but that's what it's looking like right here. Okay. Glad you like it there, Darcy. Coming along a little bit, slowly but surely. Slowly only because it's, it's just so huge a piece. I like doing my intro videos where I compile like all of the different in this case the different video streams of the entire process, because I like seeing where it kind of came, and kind of the different stages something went through from start to finish, like within, I don't know, whatever, 3.5 minutes or something like that. Okay, so if you're working on the top of your scene, flip your scene around, okay, so that you have access to this area right here. Keep it nice and ergonomic, and that really makes things easy too on you from a kind of an expenditure standpoint. See, my hand kind of goes right here. A lot of people, when they're working on pieces, and you might do this, from compositional standpoint, you might be working on it like this, and you have it always upright. But when you're doing stuff like this toning process, just keep, move the card as opposed to moving your hand and elbow all over like this, and kind of moving outside of your range of comfort, so, your comfort range of as far as your movement goes. So see, I'm usually keeping this like right here, and I'm just moving this into position, okay? So keep nice and comfortable when you're doing these things too. If you start getting tired in your arm or your hand or something like that, that's not fun, That feels like, work or something like that, and it's also not good ergonomically for you, okay? So just keep things nice and easy in every possible way that you can when doing these types of things. So right there, I just kind of made that area next to that waterfall a little bit darker, so it makes the waterfall that much lighter by contrast in there. Oh yeah, I was thinking about doing that little kind of creek in here. I do have that crooked path that I can use as a little stream in here, like a cave stream. Um, yeah. Yes, London fog. I don't know. My London fog was not working. It is not the color. The color of my London fog here in the pad form is not the color of this uh, re-inker here. They got, I don't know, the formula in this one, you can almost see it's like blue on the bottle right there. This is a neutral gray. I think they got that re-inker thing, or I don't know, whatever vat they were mixing their colors in. And someone didn't clean out their, that whatever holder, ink holder, whatever, their mixer before they went in with the the gray, I think. That's my theory of that one. It's just way too blue. And I've been using, London fog a long time, so I know what hue and what temperature hue that is. All right, so that is black. So this black really brought a lot of these areas together. It's looking a lot more, I don't know, kind of cohesive, maybe. These areas in here, are missing a lot of tone too, but I might hit that with more with the colored pencils. It's more of a, I don't know, it's not super detailed, but a little bit more of a detailed area than the other parts. But I hope these little monster map pieces kind of inspire people to try out, monster maps going forward. Or anything, I'm just joking when it comes to that. But I did see some out there. But just in terms of maybe more than like a monster map or something like that. Thinking about these things, I mean, this type of thing like this, it's kind of like a, what do you call those Christmas calendar? Those little, those things where you open up those little boxes, something like that. This would be a really great format for a, one of those Christmas types of things, where you have Christmas imagery or Winter Wonderland or something like that. You have a, candy canes on, trees or something like that. You have a gingerbread house. If you have that type of imagery out there, ice skaters on a frozen pond, these kind of narrative pieces like this, I think that'd be really fun to do for any type of holiday or whatever, any type of situation. You could do a floral garden if you have a lot of florals or something like that, back in the day. Hello, Jen. Good to see you. Jeannie, why are you so hot? I have like in this studio right here, I have these two box lamps, okay, and they have like six bulbs in each side coming in at a 45-degree angle on these pieces. So it is like really hot, in here. You know how they have like hot yoga? This is hot stamping right here. People can do this like you know, I'm not really getting in shape except for maybe my hand. I'm working out my hand like that. So it's like a nice workout like that. Advent calendar. Thank you. Everyone always knows, I love that right here. If I have like what type of tree is this? Or, what was that whatever movie? The answers are always in these live streams. Someone knows. Okay, so this is also, I should mention, as far as what I'm going through right here, not in terms of the heat, but just on this stamping piece right here. When I get to this stage, certain types of solutions to, I don't know, whatever visual problems or whatever, lighting, whatever types of things, not problems, but considerations, start coming to me a lot more the further I get along on this right here. So, oh, got it, Linda. Yeah. 10:35, 11:13. Got it. What's the weather like for you, Linda? Man, I had no idea of the flooding going on in some areas of Australia. I've been watching stuff in like the Middle East and stuff like that. But man, yeah, I was watching this whole thing on that flooding in Australia about, how all these areas were kind of built in the floodplains, and maybe, they shouldn't have been doing that for the degree of flooding going on there right now. You got flooding in some areas, and in other areas, it's like, we could really use that water here. Okay, but yeah, little details like this. See, it's like this little shadow down here, the shadow right here. It's really anchoring this piece. And again, there's a real glare on that right now, but we can see that little. Let me get this out of the way. But little things like this start coming into view as far as what can be done. The more you work on these pieces like this. And again, from a lighting perspective, I still have some issues around that, but I don't know, that doesn't look too bad anymore. I think it's kind of modeling it a little bit. Let's see, we can also do things like this. I haven't been doing this on these pieces, but like on here, we have these little areas, and you can do your little masking type of thing. If there's like a grassy texture or whatnot, and mask off, come up here and add some of those different types of textural things into these areas like that. So use the ripped portion of it like so. And instead of just a tonal swipe or something like that, you can get these other types of little textural additions of tone into those spots like that, okay? Like, see, even like this right here, there's this whole area of universal tone. That's all I'm going to get if I just keep adding in tone like this. But then you add this in like this right here, and you can get a little bit more variation within that space like that. See that right there? Or up here. I mean, we use the tree-lined hills up there, which is a textural, stamp. It represents, it's supposed to be like distant hills with some grass on it. But in order to get that in there, you can add it in like this too. You can tone in like that. Let's see, let's get a little bit of tone behind that hill right there. I mean, it's not supposed to be a hill. I'm using it for something different, but we can still use it for the textures like that. See that little variation like that? So just kind of mask it off like that. All right. One of the things is too, as I'm doing this now, this area is starting to dry a little bit more. So I'm finding that I can go in and add more. It's taking more now where it wasn't before. Because it was just too dry, but it's, while I'm sitting there working on other areas, it's drying up, so. That area, can you see that little variation like that? So, like that. It's a little bit deeper on that sides like that. So again, it's kind of just framing it off. See, right down here, I can get a little bit darker now too. I think that would be good to kind of match the top left and right corners. Get cool bulbs. They are cool bulbs. They're fluorescent at that. I'm not working with LEDs though. I don't know if LEDs, yeah, but cooler bulbs. It'd be nice if there was like a cool light bulb or a soft light. Those soft lights are cool white or something like that. If it actually had a temperature that was cool. Yeah, we did that with our can lights too, Debbie. I got those little retrofit LED ones and switched those out a few years ago when they were on like sale at Costco, you know. So much better light and so much better energy saving and everything. Everything about them is so much better. And luckily the cost of like LEDs are coming down. They used to be really expensive. We got to tone in our little slug there, but maybe not too much, right? The most important element in the entire scene. Slugs. In the movie or books Dune. I don't know if everyone's read science fiction stuff like Dune. They have worm sign. We have slug sign right here. Okay. Adding it in like so. Toning in the base right here of this waterfall a little bit. Remember, we can refine this later, you know, with the use of some white paint pens, black colored pencil too. Okay. We'll do that. This is looking a little bit uniform right in here, so I'm adding a little bit of black right in here. Okay. Yeah, maybe I should turn up my exposure. I think my exposure, it's looking a little bit too dark, I think, in my camera right here. Okay, it's a little bit glary, but you can see a little bit more variation like that if I turn that on there. Okay, let's see here. Okay, there we go. See the red top portion up there? It's coming into focus a little bit more. This is still down here. This area in here. Okay, so this is going to be a little ball of light coming from that. This little area right here can use something. Oh, maybe I should have something. Like this is a cave on the outside. Maybe I should have some roots or something like that in this area with something up here. Okay, so that is something that I'm going to consider in this section. Oh, too, and also I want this cave in here to be darker. Okay, so let's go in like this and tone this in like that. I can't have it too dark, otherwise we won't be able to see the silhouettes of the people. Okay, so let's go like that. And okay, that's too detailed an area for this. So I'll do that with the colored pencil. I want to get as much as I can with this. Not that I can't go back to this, but you know, the colored pencil is like a detailed, you know, tool with that little tip. So if I have any large areas to take care of first, I'm going to do it with this one. Just, you know, again, it's less work with a finer tipped instrument. Okay, that is that. Let's see. I saw that comment. Someone wants to live would be something on a hill, a house built into a hillside. That'd be great. Those are the ones that always have the best views, don't they, PNF? All right, I think that is it. I'm sure there'll be more with some tones in there. And again, like this little area in here is a little bit boring for me, so I want to add in some like crisp little element in there, I think. It might just be an image stamped in the background or something like that, I'm not sure. But let's see. Oh, let's see. Oh, goodbye to Linda. Okay, let's see. Oh, you still had to pay a good amount, huh, Debbie? I got those retrofit ones, so I didn't have to change out the fixtures. Well, I just had to plug in. But then we have these other types that were fluorescent. types of bulbs, but I found these bulbs online where I didn't have to change, what do they call it, the baffle or something like that. And I can just plug in, with these bulbs into it. So that was, I didn't have to buy new fixtures or anything like that. Okay, so this is a black colored pencil right here. I guess, I don't know, I hadn't even thought about using gray before. I don't even know if I have a gray colored pencil. This is just standard Prismacolor right here. And this is really perfect for getting into these little detailed areas. I mean, you can do like whole areas too. Doesn't have to be just the detailed area. But just keep in mind, if you have anything else to stamp out. See, here's this little, I'm sorry, I can't zoom in too far. I think it's, see, starts going out of focus if I get too close. But I would get most of your stamping done. So if there's other things that you want to add into any specific areas, then probably do it before you add in too much colored pencil. But we do have the Stays on Black. I'm not convinced that the Stays on Black is awesome for stamping over wax, okay? It did seem to have a little bit of a resistance to it when I stamped out some images over the top of a heavily applied area of, the wax of colored pencil. So, but we can utilize that if need be. All right. Okay. So that being said, let's go in and like at the base of these rocks right here. Okay, so just going in, coloring these areas on this little platform here, just kind of anchoring that down a little bit more. And again, I'm going to have this light up here, this ball of light, so I wouldn't have a shadow down here, but I really need to anchor this down somehow to make it kind of sit in the scene a little bit more from a visual standpoint. It gives it a little bit of a visual weight when you add shadows down like this at the base of things, okay? So here's this little statue in here. See, I've kind of added this darker area right here, but I'm going to add in more like this with this colored pencil. Just so it's sitting in that substance like that. Okay, you can hit some shadows up here. I'm just kind of reiterating the shading that's already on there a little bit in the design. So right up here, what I'm doing is it's a little bit darker. So what you're doing is this, you're adding a little bit darker and then you're just tapering it off like that. Okay, so it's darker and then use less of it and even less like that. So it's going from dark, medium to really light like that, okay? And that's what I'm doing on all of these little things. The smaller the object, the kind of the shorter distance, I do that little trail off type of thing like that, okay? So this area in here kind of needs to be anchored a little bit more, so I'm giving it a stronger anchor point and just trailing it off a little bit like that. See that little line like that? So there's a little bit more visual weight to it like that. And then, on this one right here, we have this side of it, and there's this side. On the design, it gets a little bit darker on this right side, so I'm just going and reiterating that more with this colored pencil because it's perfect for details like that. And then this looks a little bit more three-dimensional, and then you have this little stronger kind of anchor point like that. See this right up here? I did it with inks, and I'll just kind of reiterate that and just trail it off. Oh yeah, I was thinking about that crooked path down here, a little thing like right in the middle of this right here. All right, I'm not going to get it done with this completely tonight. If anyone's been watching from the start of this too, you're gonna want to break. if everyone hasn't already left, that was on early on, but I'm going to be doing a lot of the finishing touches in I don't know, the fourth whatever installment of this piece, probably tomorrow. So we'll be doing things like the paint pens and things like that. See this right up here? Look at that stays on impression up there. But now you can, That's the tone that's been added into those areas like that. But see these little areas in here? You don't, it doesn't have to be a mystery of how to shade tonal designs. Now there's a little bit of tone in here, so see what I'm doing in here, they call it stippling when you're doing those little dots in there. So I'm just kind of reiterating, not with black, but with a little bit more gray, these little areas in here. But look how dimensional that is just by adding in. See, I'm just kind of following the design. I'm just making those parts of the design a little bit darker like that, okay? So we're getting grayscale into those areas, because, these designs, when it's stipple, it's just black and white, a higher concentration of dots makes it look a little bit darker, but it's still just black and white. So I'm adding grayscale because you can add in like gray into it like that in those areas. Okay, so that's where you get, that more dimension from it. On this little pedestal right here holding that urn, it's darker on that side, see? So you can just go in like that and just reiterate that if you want to, okay? And it makes it a little bit more dimensional, like three-dimensional objects, Everything we're doing is two-dimensional on this page, but just giving it the illusion of 3 dimensions. Visual weight from the shadows like that. But it doesn't have to be a mystery. You just have to observe. See this, there was this little shadow right here on this face of this stamp like that. So I'm just going and doing that. And that's the same thing that's going on all of my designs too. There's shadow areas within these designs. And I'm just reiterating them a little bit more where those shadows are. I'm going into those black areas and adding in more tone into those areas like that. So if you're doing it with, if you're doing colors and markers, Copic markers, you would do it with that, or, alcohol inks or whatever. Like I said, hardly anywhere, I don't know, see people working with charcoal with stamping. Someone should do that, It's like, introduce that whole kind of thing. I don't know, a lot of people don't like grayscale though either, so they just don't, wouldn't ever use charcoal. But maybe they use colored charcoal or something like that, or like I said, you'd kind of do with the pastels. But anyways, stuff like that could be really fun. All right, see this right here. All right, see that right in there? This area is getting a little bit more developed like that. But see, this whole part of this waterfall was dark, so I just kind of darkened this in a little bit more. But I'm leaving it a little bit light, like right up here, capturing the light from that sun, Now see this, not sun, but this eyeball right here. But this is eyeball right here. You can use a little bit more like variations. I'm just kind of going in here. There are a little bit of cross-hatching kind of definitions on here like that. Let's see. So I'm just going on with this and darkening in a little bit like that. See this whole area underneath the eye like that? I'm just going in and defining some of that. It gets a little bit lighter right here and then darker right here. So bring it in like that. I'm gonna expand on it a little bit more like this too. Okay, so see, hopefully that eye looks a little bit more kind of three-dimensional. Goodbye, goodbye in Scotland, Donna. Thanks for joining in. I'm sure they're already gone, but it still amazes me, the internet just in general, that we can be doing something like this kind of worldwide. Or, you know, people can be joining in from wherever. All right, so I kind of put these little lines like going down here, this little shading, and then out from this, so it looks like this whole thing is like behind this kind of structure. All right. So one of the things that I'm considering too when I'm doing this, I should reference this. You know, we kind of want to make these things look, you know, kind of tonally consistent. Good night, Debbie. Tonally consistent with these other pieces somewhat. So here's this piece right here. Here's this one right here. Oh, the cave one's looking a lot darker, huh? And then here's this one right here. So a little bit more, well, I don't know. I think the cave one's looking darker, but it's kind of supposed to be. But I don't want to make it too much different than these other pieces in here. Now remember, these are a little bit lighter too, and they have a different texture because I've already had the white pigment ink in here. Oh, look at little cave, little orbs or something like that will be good in here too. Like floating around in here. I want to put the cave orbs in here. There's no such thing, cave orbs, but you know, can't think of anything else to call it. Here's the information booth or snack bar, whatever you want it to be here. Adding some tone in there. All right. The benefits of colored pencil. The colored pencils are really, you know, really amazing to work with in here. I really like the colored pencil ability of those the vinyl papers with the pigment ink. If you guys saw that done, yeah, a lot of you have vinyl already. I would check out that process with your colored pencils. And I think I was using it on top of the Brilliance White, but I suspect that we can use just any white pigment ink as a foundation on that vinyl, have it dry, and color on there with colored pencils. It's really amazing. And on the holographic, I'm adding some shadow around this little skeleton here. The holographic one, the colored pencils, you know, the colored pencils are some of the most mellow looking types of media that we can use. You know, it has a real soft look to it. You know, that's the aesthetics of colored pencil, right? But going against that, contrasting against that mirrored, you know, holographic, crazy patterned vinyl is a really good combination in terms of contrast, you know, at least. I mean, people have to kind of like that look, but in terms of just strictly a contrast, you know, contrasting type of range of visuals on there, it's really kind of fun to play around with. All right, so a little bit of shadows around that skeleton right there. We'll extend the shadows for these running kids a little bit out this way. About like so. All right. Good night, Kay. I think I will end this second. I can't even remember. Is this the second video for this part 2? I think I will end this part 2 here. And then we'll look to finishing this up with some little detailed pieces. I'm going to think about this too, about other things that I might add in this piece. But it's largely taken care of in terms of shading right now. Now we'll go into different things like lighting. In the next one, I'll bring in a white paint pen, a big one. I'm going to put this big orb over the tops of these pieces right here. And then we're going to make them glowing in here like this kind of underground cave lighting in here. I want to take care of some of these other areas in here. Let me tone this down again. I just turned up my exposure here a little bit so you can see what was happening kind of in those more detailed areas like that. But I don't know, we want to create this really strong passageway in here in terms of this map going in this way. Dr. Martin's in here in terms of sort of like some really fun textures and splashes around it. I think I want to do that Dr. Martin's around this too, like it's like this light is kind of coming in here. We might add in some light beams too coming in here like this into the piece and create some illumination that way too. So I don't know, doing stuff like that to me, they're real simple types of processes, but I think they're really kind of fun to watch develop. And again, you know, it's easy processes and whatnot, but all those little things like that really can contribute to kind of an overall really nice, I don't know, just a textural statement, I guess you could say. So anyways, yeah. Part 3 will be tomorrow, CM. Good night, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of day. It's daytime for some people. Have a great rest of day. Have a great rest of night, wherever you are. And thanks so much for joining in and watching this, I don't know, 2 hours of grayscale work, yeah, or whatever it was. Let's see. Yeah, we've been on for 2 hours like that. So finishing up these like that. The Owl's Crafter, I think I will be putting some of these up for sale. Some of my larger pieces, because I don't do it, you know, I'm not sending out like 11 by 17 cards, but I have a bunch of, you know, 11 by 17s that I've done in the past, you know. So, stamped pieces. Look at this one right here. Gosh, they're like, I don't know, another piece like that. Oh, here's grayscale right here. This was my video on dramatic imbalance. It's where you really weight something off on, you know, one side of the piece, you know, and you contrast it with something like really tiny on the other side. So yeah, just some enormous pieces like this. But the Halloween, I think, triptych, I think that will be my 3-piece thing. I think will be sold together. They should really be kept together. Not that they're precious or anything like that, but yeah, I don't know. All right, so anyways, thanks again, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, go do a monster map or do some sort of map. You know, advent calendar. I think the advent calendar would be a really fun one. I don't know. You know, I don't know if you're opening things up, but you can just do like a little map, you know, or something like that. And I think that would be really fun to create with Christmas imagery if you have enough of it. You know, there could be like little ornaments everywhere, or whatever, snowmen in the piece and things like that. And you can do it in like snowy landscapes instead of grayscale. You can do it in blues or something like that. I'll have to try to do that. I don't know if I have as much. I don't have as much like Christmas imagery or something like that, and I certainly don't have like, you know, I don't know, other holiday things, you know, but the monster map's been right up my alley as far as that goes. Are the people stamps from tonight on your website? No, they aren't, Paulette. A lot of these are just my private collection things. A lot of these are not available anymore, but you can get similar types of kind of weird imagery though, if you call it that. I don't think it's weird. It's just kind of I don't know. It's just like eyeballs and stuff. On sites like 100 Proof Press is a really good one, and go into like the people section of Viva Las Vegas stamps, and they have a lot of different things. I kind of have a hard time because there's not like, I don't think there's like a holiday section. So you got to flip through like pages and pages and pages of like people types of things. But the people type of thing might be where like a mummy would be or something like that. But a lot of these things like this by these different, these little creatures and stuff like that are just not available. Unless it's these people right here. Those are Stampscapes, and you go in the people section of Stampscapes. But all this other skeletal types of stuff is, you can find it some versions of it on Viva Las Vegas Stamps. I say Viva Las Vegas Stamps because they have like 100,000 images or something like that in their line. I don't know what it is. It's got to be, it has to be 50,000, including all their word stamps. But places like that, you know, places that still have a lot of engraved styles of images. If Leavenworth Jackson's still out there, that was one of our favorite companies out there as well. So yeah, find stuff like that. Yeah, but the ones like this are running kids and couple right here. But on the previous monster maps, I have underneath all these videos, not this one where it gets posted like immediately after I click end, you know, but later on at night I add all the different imagery from that has been used in every project listed in the description section, and just click on show more underneath the videos and it'll show you everything that was used in there. So yeah. All right, so thanks again everyone, and hope you have a great evening, and yeah, maybe we'll see you in the next live show for the finishing touches on this piece. I can't wait to do those ones. I'd love doing the finishing touches. So yeah. Oh, Viva Las Vegas, they've been around for longer than I have, but it's under kind of a different ownership now. The guy that started it, I think his daughter or I think it's daughter and son-in-law or something like that run it now. And 100 Proof Press has been around a long time too, and I think that's changed hands about 3 different times. So they've been around a really long time. And that was, you know, here, this is a YouTube video right here. The first YouTube video I ever posted was just a tour of the Viva Las Vegas stamp store, which is still out there. You might have to call them in to, you know, let them know that you're going over there. But it's a really cool store with all the neon lights and everything, and it's like walking back into a stamp store from, I would say, the mid-90s and older, where it was like all rubber stamps. At least that's the way it is. I haven't been out to Las Vegas in years now, but, you know, like 10 years. Yeah, maybe it's been a decade since I've been out there, but yeah, just seeing all those stamps out there. But, you know, there's a lot more online because they had the wood stamps on the shelves back then. But, you know, everything's available in wood, I think, and unmounted rubber on their website. So anyways, all right, thanks everyone. Have a great evening, and hopefully we'll see you on the next video for this. I can't wait to finish this piece off.